My 23M boyfriend 24M won't talk to me and is suggesting we break up after I saw his burn scars. Throwaway cause my boyfriend follows my actual account. My boyfriend's house burned down when he was young after electrical issues never disclosed to his parents. He and his father were severely burned. They lived but his mother died. He and I met in freshman year and became best friends in sophomore year. I've never seen his scars in full good view until now, only small glimpses if his shirt rode up and he'd quickly fix his shirt to cover it. He always hides his scars, constantly wearing jeans pants and long-sleeve shirts even if it's super hot outside. His scars start from the bottom half of his ribs to just above his knees, so this is the only way he can cover them. Even bringing his pajamas into the bathroom to change into. He's done this ever since I've known him. Even after sex, which we do in the dark, which doesn't bother me because I know this is what makes him comfortable, he'll immediately get changed back into his clothes back on before we cuddle or do anything else. Once again, I'm fine with this, just trying to explain that I know how uncomfortable he is with his scars. I know he is ashamed of his scars, and when we were friends I was fiercely protective and always changed the subject if his scars got brought up, which he always thanked me for. I have never and would never ask or pressure him to show me. I don't judge his scars or think they're ugly. I thought he knew I wouldn't judge him because some of his dad's burned scars are impossible to cover up, one of them covering half his face, and never once have I judged or even thought his dad's scars were disturbing. He's a very handsome man, they both are, which is why I'm so confused by his reaction and accusations of this. I work weird hours, I'm a nurse, so sometimes I can come home at 9 a.m. Sometimes 5 p.m., sometimes the ass crack of dawn. I went to immediately take a shower. I was in airplane mode and was completely exhausted. I opened the bathroom door and he was getting changed. I saw his scars. I'll admit, I stared not because I thought they were gross but because I was having an, oh shit, moment knowing I fucked up. He and I have been dating for quite almost a year. I had to move into his place a while ago after my parents went no contact and cut me off after I came out and told them I was dating boyfriend. Long story short, toxic Bible thumping parents, so I'm not used to sharing an apartment with someone. He blew up at me, yelling at me to get out. Note, he has never yelled at me before this. Sure, we got in spats and small fights where he raised his voice, but he never full on yelled. I shut the door and he went quiet. I was pacing in the kitchen for almost 20 to 30 minutes when he quickly walked past me trying to leave when I stopped him. He was pissed, yelling at me that he thought I would know how to knock by now, and questioning if I did it on purpose. I was trying to explain while trying not to cry because I saw how red his eyes were. I knew he was crying. I couldn't say anything, just made incomprehensible sobs as I tried to explain that I was, but he wouldn't listen and left without saying where he was going. I'm heartbroken. He texted me an hour ago with a single message of, I'm not coming home, tomorrow we can talk about our relationship. I immediately messaged him back asking what that meant and spent several minutes watching that little text incoming bubble bob in and out before he texted, whether we should stay together? As if it was obvious. I have no idea what to do. He's my boyfriend. My best friend of 8 years. What the hell do I do? I love him. I can't imagine life without him. His dad is like a father to me. I have nowhere else to go if he kicks me out. Above it all, I can't lose him. I'd rather have to go through coming out again than lose him. How do I make it up to him? How do I let him know that I'm sorry and never meant to make him uncomfortable? Edit. You, Valor Fox Potatoes, brought up a good point that made me think, so I should specify. He was bullied for his scars. A huge bully of his from middle school always sniffed the air when he entered a class and said, really loudly, "Ew, you guys smell that? Smells like bacon's burning." He was a little chubby in middle school, every time he entered a room then laughed. Also, in small glances, a lot of our guy friends would say how cool it is. Looks like Deadpool's skin. They were trying to be nice but failed horribly, hence my fierce protectiveness over anyone bringing it up. And his family always emphasized it doesn't matter what he looked like on the outside because he was beautiful on the inside. Seriously, WTF. He's also mentioned having a really bad ex-GF who had issues with his scars in the past but never went too deep into it, and I'm starting to wonder if that's what his overreaction and suggestion of a breakup was rooted in. I'm taking mental notes on all the comments on what's the best way to approach this, and they're really helping, thank you. First, give him time to cool down. He's extremely embarrassed and his immediate reaction is to be defensive. You need to talk to him. You say you're so sorry for violating his privacy. You of course would never do that on purpose and hope he knows you love and respect him enough not to have done that on purpose. You will of course continue to be careful and respectful of him and his space, but you also hope he knows you well enough after almost a decade to know you wouldn't do it on purpose. Then you let him do what he wants. But don't make it about the scars. Are you sure he didn't default to thinking you will want to break up with him because of the scars? If they so heavily affect his self-esteem, he may believe since you saw him that will be the inevitable conclusion. He may feel like he is hideous, even if you know he is not, and that you can't possibly want to stay in a relationship with him now. This is just wild guessing, but I wanted to put it out there. Otherwise all I would do is send a text saying you are sorry for walking in on him, that you were on autopilot after a long day. That you love him but will give him his space if he needs it until he feels like he would like to talk. Then I would just leave him alone. He has to process it. You don't need to make up anything. His reaction was completely out of line. Is he just going to scream at you for having the audacity to exist without warning him first for the rest of your lives? This can't go on like this. He needs to go to therapy to deal with his trauma so he stops taking it out on you and making you walk on eggshells. I would give him some space to process things, and when you do talk tomorrow try to calmly explain your side of the story. He is very self-conscious of these burns, and maybe perceived you to be starting, judging, which would explain his harsh reaction. You are probably the only person to have seen them clearly in a long time, and he's probably going to need some time to think. It was an honest mistake, and you didn't mean to stare or upset him. It was simply a surprise to you as you have never seen that part of him. You have been incredibly tolerant of his issues with it and clearly care a great deal about him. Hopefully if you explain these things clearly and calmly, he will see it from your perspective. Best of luck to you. I hope everything works out okay. Okay, here is my advice. Wait for that conversation, tomorrow, and then tell him. 1. That you didn't mean to and are sorry for not knocking. 2. That you respect his privacy and don't want to pressure him or anything. 3. That the scars weren't a deal-breaker before you fell in love and sure as hell aren't now. 4. That you want to stay together. The ball is in his court after that. Honestly, I would talk to his dad. I know it's slightly outside the norm, but his dad is the only one who shares the scars. And his scars can't be hidden. Maybe his dad can help talk to him. He needs serious therapy. I understand he has been bullied and is very self-conscious about them. Yes, he needs therapy, but the fact you have been together so long and he still hasn't trusted that you care about him more than how his scars looks is a little concerning. Does he expect that you will never be able to see him naked like if you were to stay together and have a future together? I believe you have been beyond loving in you respecting him and showing how much you love him through your acceptance of his requests. You need to ask him if he knows you genuinely care for him, and if he does, why he believes anything about him would change that? Good luck. Write him a letter. On paper. Leave it at your home or mail it to him, if you are staying apart. Just tell him the most important lesson here, that you love him unconditionally and wholly. Apologize for accidentally crossing his boundaries and then let him know you are ready to talk about how to get past this when he is able to. Then let him calm down and process this. Maybe he'll want to go back to hiding his scars. Maybe he'll be ready to start therapy or sharing more with you. For now, just focus on reassuring him that you love him, and set aside the scar convo for a bit. If you're going to live together, expecting you to never see him changing or whatever is completely unfeasible. He needs serious therapy and probably isn't ready to cohabitate. I know this isn't the same at all, but I had a baby with my ex through a C-section when I was 17. I was super insecure about my scar, and there was so many things wrong with that relationship, but he would kiss my scar and tell me it was beautiful until I believed it too. He, your BF, needs to stop hiding them, and you being affectionate towards him and the scars might help his self-esteem. Just a thought. Obviously there's lots of trauma there for your boyfriend, but he needs to be vulnerable with you in order for the relationship to work. This isn't sustainable. In an intimate relationship you are going to see his scars eventually. He needs to accept that, but he may not be able to. This is his journey and I hope he makes the right choice. I'm very sorry this happened to you both. I have to be honest, Op. Yes, he is embarrassed and he's punishing you for accidentally looking when you didn't get a chance to explain. He needs some serious therapy. But you should reconsider too for your own sake. Do you want to partner up with someone who over a small accident, wants to completely cut you from their life? Remind him you love him more than his scars, and you're not that shallow. And the thought of you losing him hurts you more than anything, and that you're a little disappointed it can even come to that. Say you're sorry for not knocking. Tell him he has a person and soul who truly wants to be with him, stupid scars or not. And if he accepts your apology, you'd like to move forward. And honestly would be thrilled if he stopped worrying about his scars, at least around you. You're his lover and man etc. I would stand up for how much his behavior hurt as a significant other, personally. I mean, surely, he can imagine, someone can love him enough to not care about that stuff. That is very imaginable. He doesn't get to treat you badly because he has baggage. Everyone does. If he is not prepared to seek professional help for his trauma and insecurity and stop projecting previous bad treatment by others and you, then you will never be in a relationship with him because he is stuck in relationships with ghosts, and you will never break past that, nor is it your job to. He needs to recognize the issue and want the help he needs to let himself grow, both for himself and with others including you. That's trauma, he has to process it. Or risk losing you. And by the way, I've been critical in a few of my posts, but I would like to acknowledge that you're in a situation where only a saint could manage and you've done a great job over the years to have gotten so far. I'm proud of you. He is not allowed to push you away. Do not allow him to self-sabotage. Do not allow him to deny himself love. Tell him he does not have permission to choose for you who is worthy of your love. I love you, your scars make no difference to me and they do not make me love you less. If anything, I think they make you a stronger person. I don't want anyone else, I want you, and your scars are a part of that package. If you want to break up, you're going to have to find a much better reason than your scars. Edit. Of course I'm using allow and permission here with a grain of salt. I am hoping that this incident will turn into something that gets your boyfriend into therapy to deal with his trauma. You did not cause it, and honestly, it was bound to happen sooner or later. If he's not able to realize and accept that eventually, then there's not much left for the two of you. Relationships are built on trust, and he should be able to someday trust you to look at him and love him for who he is. I hope you can work this out. It sounds like both of you care a great deal for one another. Please let us know how this works out when you can. It's up to him now. He's traumatized. Honestly, you probably unintentionally triggered him, because he was bullied. If I were you, I would apologize for barging in and reassure him that you do not see him any differently because of his scars, and that scars are beautiful. His scars are becoming yours. You live in fear of upsetting him. You've changed or adapted to a routine that enables his hiding. And what of future children? Will he explode this way as well on them? He has hidden this too long. I know you love him. I don't doubt. But love isn't a cage, nor should it be. If he chooses his pain over healing, take that sign and follow it. I wish you only goose things. Hi Op, I'd highly recommend you ask your boyfriend to look up Rich Cooper. He's a relationship business coach and guru, who also has scars over 70% of his body. There's probably a lot of his stuff that would resonate directly with your boyfriend and could help him deal with his very major mental issues around his scars. OMFG. I see a lot of similarities to a post I made about a month ago. If you are interested, go to my profile and have a look. It's the first post I made. I'm also in a same-sex relationship and I also have a partner where they were hiding scars. It led to some tricky stuff in our relationship. We're still together but it's been a rough month. DM me if you want to talk. Seriously, there's so many similarities. I think that after a year of relationship he should trust you more. Even if he doesn't like you looking at the scars, if it happens by accident, which is very likely given that you live together, it shouldn't be a trouble for neither of you. He set the unspoken rule that if his significant other ever saw his scars, he wouldn't continue the relationship. You were not aware of that rule, and now that you learned about it you are surprised. Moreover, as a way to protect him you have actively played the game that he proposed of not touching the topic. It reminds me when in the past certain books were burned so people wouldn't read them, as a way to control what people think. He can't control what you think by hiding his scars from you nor by eluding the topic. He needs to process this last part. You have played by the original rules. Now you will need new rules. Sounds like he's being a baby. I was bullied throughout school. Every school I went to, it would get bad enough that I would have to change schools. Man, I've been to over 9 different schools. I've lost count. I'm 28 now. While I don't currently have a real job I get by. I hate people in general but I'm still nice to everyone for the most part. If I have a bad day I can talk to my girlfriend. She's there for me. She's known me since I was 16. I'm always there for her. Either he doesn't think of you as someone he trusts or he needs to grow the fuck up. I'd like to think it's the latter because if he doesn't trust you, you don't have a relationship to save here. I was really badly burned a year and a half ago. Sleepwalking and being a smoker really ended badly. My stomach, ribs and especially the bottom half of my boobs are very scarred in the inside of my thighs from where they took the graft skin from. It hurts like hell but I would suggest he considers covering as much as possible with tattoos. And he needs therapy. But the tattoos are a quick way to distract himself from the scars. Also then people seems to only notice the tattoos. There's no reason to let this create gaps between you two. He's hurt and embarrassed, and that's why he's lashing out. This is clearly a very, very big deal for him. I would give him time and reassure from a distance that you're there for him and that there's nothing he needs to be embarrassed about. Love and understanding is really important. I would tell him that you know how big of a deal it is for him and that you don't blame him for being insecure and you don't think his scars are gross or unattractive. You guys seem to love each other a lot. Dude needs therapy. Sounds like he hates himself. I have a lot of scars, including a facial one, from a car accident. I know and understand how he is feeling. It happened 4 years ago and I have only ever felt comfortable enough to show one person the extent of my scarring and I feel self-conscious every day about my facial one. Does he go to therapy? It did really help me but scarring is so hard because you wake up every day and have to look at them again. You need to try and talk to him and I know it will be hard because when you are that self-conscious about something it fucks you up. I hope it works out and I hope he gets some therapy. You sound like a wonderful boyfriend and friend, being fiercely protective, so understanding, etc. He's lucky to have you. Clearly none of this blow up is about you. You didn't do anything wrong at all. It's about his past experience. Don't forget that. When you talk to him, just be as calm and understanding as possible. Spin this. Maybe it'll bring you closer. It's a chance to prove that you love him despite seeing the scars. Now that the cat is out of the bag, hopefully your boyfriend doesn't need to live in fear as much. Apart from all of this, I really hope your man got some therapy. Starting from losing his mom in a fire, to getting bullied for having scars and obviously being very ashamed about them is more than enough reason for therapy. He doesn't seem to know how to cope with the scars and his body appearance. I don't know if anyone else has said this. But it's time for therapy for him. Like yeah I get why he is upset but he cannot let his burns control his relationship or his emotions. Lashing out and screaming is childish. As someone who has been in similar situation as your boyfriend, not too severe, some insecurities, school bullying, not starting a relationship because I was too scared that he would break up with me once he knew real me, thinking, how could someone even love my true self? Not thinking I was worthy of real love for my whole life considering my defects, low self-esteem, etc. I truly appreciate the effort you put into taking care of him. Please update us what happens and I wish you all the best. Wow. My heart hurts for your boyfriend. There is plenty of great advice and he is lucky to have an understanding and supportive partner. We all have scars but from my experience it's the psychological ones that are the most difficult to deal with. Your boyfriend should seek counseling help to better manage the psychological scars stemming from his burns. They should be able to help him. Peace. I am not a violent person, but there is a special place in hell for the bully. Sweet Jesus, burning bacon. WTF. I hope karma comes around in the form of being anally raped by a pinecone. I can't imagine having lived through what your boyfriend did. That being said, having a romantic partner who can't see you naked is not sustainable. He's 23 now, and eventually he will realize he has to come to terms with what happened and the way he looks. It's clear how deeply you care about him, but please do not accept a relationship where you have to walk on eggshells about something so basic forever. You deserve love and safety, too. Today I learned the saying, the ass crack of dawn. Thank you. Be understanding with him. And don't leave him. Try explaining. Read or paraphrase your post to him. You explain it very well and it shows how much you care. He hasn't gotten over his scars in a healthy way yet. He has a lot of work to do towards accepting himself. It will be honestly much easier to let him go and continue on his own journey. He will process this pain when he is ready. He might now be ready to do so just yet. If you decide to stay with him, then he has to address his pain and learn to accept himself. If he's not really ready, then forcing him too soon would be really harmful in some ways. You just have to be easy and loving with him. If he's not ready, let him go with love, and he'll take those steps towards total recovery when the time comes. Good luck and much love. He needs professional help. I would let him have his space for now. Then, let him know that you love him. All of him, that includes his burns, they don't change him from the person you know and love. Apologize for walking into the bathroom, and that you stared. Tell him that you'll gladly go to therapy with him, or find him one individually if he'd like. I really feel for you both. I have no advice to add than what people have already said. Talk to him. I really hope for an update here. Remind me 1 week. Sounds like you need to get to the underlying issue. Don't pressure him into talking about it as it seems sensitive, just give him time. Make sure he knows you're just concerned, not disgusted and not prying. I wish you the best of luck. Remember, honesty is always the best policy with loved ones. I don't have any input that hasn't already been mentioned, but I just want to wish you both the best in your next conversation. My sibling has some pretty bad burn scars and I've seen how that affects a person's self-esteem. You sound like you really care about him and love him, and so I'll keep you both in my thoughts as you work through this. He needs help. This is not your fault in the slightest. He is ticking time bomb if he doesn't get help for this. I know this is really blunt, but he really needs professional help to move on from the bullying if he is still reacting like this to someone seeing the scars. This is not something he can deal with by himself. His scars have haunted him and he's had terrible reactions to them. So he's beating you to the punch, such as it is. He reacts before you can say anything, so you're on the back foot and not him. Not an uncommon reaction from a trauma victim. But how long are you willing to tiptoe around your own home? Spell it out to him. You love him. You know he's scarred and they are a reminder of a terrible trauma. You love all of him. But it is not fair for him to expect you to tiptoe around him. For 8 years you've been nothing but supportive. If he still doesn't trust you to love him, scars and all, then maybe you do need to rethink your relationship. I think you're a wonderful person and that he will see that once he's cooled off and doesn't feel embarrassed anymore. I hope this will mean he will grow more comfortable around you now he's seen how you love him unconditionally.